Sending a lot of love.
Stills from all over the world.
So, yes, we got, Lemuria, California, Cali, Hawaii, Aloha. Let's, good. It feels good to me right now.
Soul family. You can hear me
Yes.
clearly, right?
I can hear you beautifully, Ishmael.
Okay.
And, okay, let me just keep recording. And also, we are just setting up a quick stream. Bear with me 1 second. Everyone's saying hello, so that's great.
Good morning, everyone. Afternoon or evening, wherever you're at.
Yes,
Grand Rising, Soul family.
indeed.
It
Well,
is a beautiful day here in Southern California. The sun is shining.
it's been raining a lot here in Sydney over the weekend. And tell us, Ishmael, did you do anything exciting or interesting or different over the weekend? What was your weekend like?
All I do is work. I do.
Yeah.
If I'm not doing interviews and writing, if I'm not writing, I'm doing other things that is related to bringing forth information and doing research. I'm constantly working. So I guess my only time off, or what I do to relax, is in the evenings. I sit in my chair with the light off and I just rest my mind for about an hour before I go to sleep. And that's the only thing I do to relax. Lately, though, I've been, going to the ocean. There's so much power in the ocean. And that's one of the things that I'd like to suggest for all the starseeds out there, is that our power is directly related to the elements of the earth. The organic mother, Gaia. I would suggest to take at least 20 to 30 minutes a day and go to a nearby river, lake, mountain, forest, wherever, and just connect, because as I speak, the Telluric kingdom is activating. The fairies and the different elementals are coming online as we collectively move into the fourth density, because they exist in the higher fourth dimension. And a lot of us are already there. And quite frankly, I think the whole planet is already there. It's just a matter of adjusting. And so, by connecting with the elements, we're actually connecting with God,
100%,
So that's very
Ishmael.
important.
100%. That's really backing up, what you consistently say in all of your interviews, and what you mentioned in our last one, which was all about, one of the top 3 things that you do daily. It's the grounding, it's the gratitude, and in that exercise that you just shared with people, that's what you're doing in that space. You have this feeling like of awe, right? When you see something really beautiful in nature, it's just this awness just overwhelms the body, so it's a beautiful feeling. So, Ishmael, this is our 4th or 5th time together, and again, I want to just, on behalf of everyone who's live, myself, and just being totally stoked that you said yes to the very first interview with me, that something in your soul said yes. I had a question for you. What do you receive information directly, do you feel like, from a voice outside of you, or are you connecting to... So we talked about intuition and the way that we connect, but are you getting a directive from a galactic, counterpart that you're receiving information from about what you should do next, or are you guided by your intuition and in the wisdom in your heart, or how is it that you hear the information? Is it a knowing, a voice?
It's an inner knowing. I get data dumps, downloads in my mind, and I have to be careful and discern, because sometimes the dark side, the tricksters, could actually pose as the light, right? And then try to transmit information. So I have to be really, really careful and learn how to distinguish between my higher galactic self, or my being that exists in higher dimensions, right? The aspect of me, and those that are not part of my oversoul. So I have to be very careful. But yeah, for the most part, I do get data dumps and downloads from my higher self, my star family, my lineage, my ancestry. Very connected with all of that. So that's how I do things.
Amazing.
That's why we have to distinguish the difference between channeling and receiving transmissions. Unless you're really, really grounded, spiritually evolved, I would recommend be careful with the concept of channeling, because Something that people need to know is that, through channeling, you could easily be hijacked. You could be hijacked by false entities who are posing as light. So we have to have discernment. We have to be careful with who we channel at all times, and make sure that it resonates with the heart, because if it doesn't resonate with the heart, then it's obviously coming from some sort of entity that is posing as the light. So I strongly advise indigos out there and all the starseeds to, be careful when you guys channel. And also astral projection. Projection could be a very dangerous thing to do if you don't know what you're doing. In fact, I would recommend do not astral project. Wait till your DNA activates, your dormant DNA, and then you could have all these abilities. But that's another way that the false light or the negative entities posing as angels of light could hijack you, is through the astral projection. They could easily take over your body and make you think like, you're receiving downloads from higher beings, and they do disguise themselves as beings of light. So we have to be careful.
How I should handle my experience with the spiritual community?
Sure.
There's a question. How should I handle my experience with the spiritual community? There's a lot of people who are like, oh yes, I'm a galactic being, and then they hurt me, and it's mind-blowing. Says give thanks 144,000. So that's for you there.
So I'm sorry, what was the question? Can you repeat that?
The question again was how can I ask guides how I should handle my experience with the spiritual community? There's a lot of people who are posing, this is what you said, as galactic beings, but then they hurt you, and so how can somebody discern?
One way to discern is always invoke protection from your mighty I Am presence. Your Holy Christ self, which is your higher self, your divine self, will never mislead you. So I would wake up every morning, and this is what I do. This is what works for me. Ground yourself, right? Connect, deep into the roots of the earth. And at the same time, invoke the sphere of protection and set your intention. Words have power. If you have to speak it, and say, today I'm only going to connect with beings or with members of my star family, or in my benefit, or that is going to align me to my purpose. And then just be vocal about it, set the intention, and be careful, because, we're living in a time where, the spiritual war is still going. It's still happening. So we have to be careful. So it's best to ground yourself, protect yourself, and only invoke the presence of your soul family.
I love that, Ismael. And, everyone who's had questions, I think that's addressing everyone's comments and a lot of people's comments and questions about that. And the kind of, we're going to talk about other things to discern, because we're really at a time, Ismael, aren't we, where there's so many strong forces, everything, the energy is intensifying. So as the energy is intensifying, we're getting to a peak. You're going to be feeling so much more stuff. So it's even more important to turn up that volume of, and I love what you said in one of our interviews about the heart being the compassion is really going to be the new currency, right? So that's going to discern, that's going to be the thing that's going to recognize who's going forward to the next level and who's not. So now's that time to turn it up, and that mighty I Am. This is tying into something, look, I do this with my kids every night. I'm already teaching them at the ages of 2.5, 5, and I've got a 10-month-old, and every night we call in that mighty I Am presence. We call in our Christ consciousness, our divine I Am presence, and we just send that divine love and divine gratitude. And it just seems to it's amazing the difference that you feel in their sleep, in their room, in everything. And we always ask, that we're dancing with the light beings, because we're unlimited. So I have all these little imaginations, and all the things that you're saying today is just validates all the stuff I've been doing with my kids. So it brings me so much joy,
And for all the parents out there, do the same with your kids. Start teaching your kids. Because if you are a star child, an indigo, chances are your kids are also indigo. So start teaching your kids meditation, teach your kids protection, teach them how to ground, so that in the end you are doing them a benefit, so.
And for those of you who are live now, whether you heard our previous live interview, Ishmael went into the difference between, say, the crystalline and the different kinds of auras and types of children. Also went into the different DNAs. We talked a little bit about diamond DNA and how we can activate that or bring that online. So if you want to have a little listen, that was in our previous one. It was super exciting. So I've been actually bringing that into our evening meditations with kids. And that's like, oh, it's exciting. You can like feel that stardust, that diamond energy coming through. So let me just do a little scan. While there's a question as well I had here before I check more of the comments, and that's basically that difference to discern between the transhumanist and the organic. If you could talk about that for a moment, give us some clarity about that. I'd really appreciate it.
Okay, so it appears that with the return of Enki, there's been a huge infiltration of the spiritual community. I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm sure some people know who I'm talking about that are promoting that he's returned with the original Adamic Holy Grail blueprint that is supposed to end all illnesses and diseases, and it is through a technology. It takes 2.5 years. So we don't need for us to activate or for us to reach immortality. We could do it on our own. We don't need any technology. We don't need any help from any extraterrestrials. We have it in us. It is encoded within our DNA, and through the activation or through the coming in of the gamma rays through our sun, coming from the galactic core, it's happening naturally. So that's the difference between the organic timeline and the transhumanist timeline, because a lot of people are going to be sold out on the idea that we could reach immortality. About that, because a lot of people, especially those billionaires that are associated with Simi Valley and big tech, I mean, they're all jumping in on the bandwagon. Everybody wants to become immortal. Everybody wants to have. And you don't want to fall into that trap. You want to make sure that you do it naturally, because all those abilities is laying dormant within our DNA. In fact, once we activate, we're not going to need cell phones anymore. We're not even going to need med beds. We're going to be able to use the power of our consciousness to heal ourselves, to teleport, to communicate telepathically. All that is going to be happening if you do it organically. So it's best to distinguish the difference. It's going to get to the point where they're going to actually take away our devices, and they're going to, through a neural ace, they're going to say, okay, if you guys could want to continue using your social media and all that stuff, or the internet, you're going to have to get this implanted in you. And then, that's how you're going to interface with technology. It's going to get to that point. And I just want to warn people that, do not, at that point, we don't need any technology. Who cares about social media? Let's just do it naturally. Don't buy into that transhumanist agenda.
Yeah, I'm really appreciating that you're honing in on that message, because people think that there's going to be a fast track, but the fast track is doing what you're doing right now, everyone. You're listening to Ishmael's wisdom, you're downloading your own, you're listening to all the people. Look at how many people Ishmael is just bringing forth, all the star seeds, because of all these interviews. So we're well aware, and we just appreciate you for doing that, because you're literally highlighting and working with all the people who are sharing similar messages, and more and more people. It's kind of like it's going out like a little web, but it's the way to do this is definitely not the fast track, and you will be so much more rewarded going through sitting with meditation, knowing you get your superpower through doing exactly what it is that Ishmael is talking about. Which brings me to this. It's interesting, I've been thinking all this time, I know when we go to 5D and above and beyond, we're not going to need the med beds. So why the big hoo-ha about the med beds? Why is there such a big deal about everyone's, the med bed's going to come, the med bed's going to come, but we're all going to be 30 years younger. We're all going to be, who do you think is the med bed going to be for? Where is that going to be appropriate? Is it going to be the lower dimensions, or where is that going to be used?
In the fourth dimension.
Yeah.
Yes, in the fourth dimension. Because in the fourth dimension, people are still not going to have their powers yet, although they are going to live for a few hundred years with, because of the med beds and healing chambers and technologies, they're going to be able to never experience illness or, unhealthy scenarios. But for those of us that go into the fifth and up, We're going to be natural replicators. We're going to be teleporters. We're not going to need no technology. In fact, that was our original state of being. Before, when our original ancestors were made, they were made in the 12th dimension, in the planet or the star planet known as Aramatena, and they were completely independent from technology. They had no tech. They used the power of their consciousness to do things. To build elaborate crystalline civilizations, to travel the different dimensional spheres, to travel to the different worlds and galaxies. It was all done through the power of their mind, because that's where we're heading if we do it organically. Technology ultimately is a crutch. It is tied into the Luciferian agenda, if you ask me. And I know people are saying, well, without the technology, how would we starseeds be able to communicate and network? Yes, I could understand, but it has a limitation. Eventually, once we activate our telepathy, we could throw our cell phones away. Once we begin to teleport, we could throw our vehicles away. So technology overall is a crutch. And in the end, ultimately, it all leads to...
Yeah, and look, Lisa Marie, how do I know that I'm a starseed? I'm gonna point you to, like, Ishmael runs a course, so that's going to be at the bottom of every video handle, and I think he addresses that. I don't know if you want to answer that here on the live. How does one know that they're a starseed?
I could, yeah. Well, do you feel different? Do you feel like a misfit growing up? Was it hard to take and accept the, what they teach you without questioning it? Are you a nonconformist? Have you always been a nonconformist? And that's how you know if you're a starseed. You came in here to pretty much bust the inverted, reality that we're all in, the matrix, right? So by virtue of that, and also by being on the live, obviously, if you do follow me and you've been following my work, is because it resonates with you, and therefore you are a starseed. So everyone on here is a starseed. I could assure you of that. So there's no question about that. It's like
yeah,
towards
I agree 100%.
You gravitate where you resonate with, exactly.
So, Chosen Wellness, you want to have some help to release anger, hurt feelings, and frustration. You've been hurt by your mother. So there's going to be with the starseeds and with this kind of work, there's a lot of people who feel also a lot of empaths, right? We answered this. We went deeply into this question in the last live, Ishmael. Do you remember when we went through the feelings, the emotions, and we talked about how one can release it? So, do you want to answer that? Because we've got lots of questions, or do you want me to point the person to the previous video? What would you like to know?
What was the question again?
It's around how can I release deep hurt, anger, feelings, stuff, betrayal, frustration from trauma and betrayals. I'm reminding Chosen Wellness that we've covered some deep stuff that Ishmael actually talked about, some personal stuff about losing his mother and what he went through and how he released that. Did you want to go over how to release that stuff now, or shall I refer them to the video?
I could answer it. Learn how to feel things. If you have resentment, if you have resentment still, if you're still holding a grudge because of somebody did you wrong, perhaps sexually abused you or physically abused you, and you just can't let go of it. You have to let go of it, but first feel what it's like, and then you have to transmute it, because by holding on to that negative emotion, that resentment, you're actually giving them your power. So if you want to free yourself from that, you have to learn how to let go and how to forgive those that have wronged you, and just move on. Don't let it affect you anymore. Because remember, they're also programmed. Every person out there is born. I'm sorry to say this, but we're all born into the matrix. We're all kind of programmed from childbirth. And so everything that people do to you, it's because they themselves are under mind control. So it's not really them. It's, you could blame it all on the system, blame it all on the matrix, but again, everything happens for a reason. Maybe that was meant to happen to make you as a feel and how to eventually release it. Otherwise, it's just going to weigh you down. And then by doing so, you actually, regain your power and your sovereignty from every person out there that has ever done you wrong. So learn how to forgive.
So true. And, And if you don't mind, something in releasing some of the biggest traumas that I've experienced in life is that when I got to that point when you said of appreciation, or you talked about being grateful, when you said maybe they've made you stronger, or you find something to be appreciative of, even though you can never imagine when you've been so wronged or so hurt, you can never actually imagine being appreciative for that person to do that. When you get there and you get beyond even that level of forgiveness and you go, actually, without you, I never would have started this childhood center. I never would have started this company. I never would have done this for my own children. When you can get to that point, you get to that level of like not even needing to forgive. You get into that deep appreciation and gratefulness, and all is sort of released and perfect, right? So even that appreciation works at that level. I think that addresses, some of you have had questions about your body, you've had questions about healing. Let's talk about healing scars or rapidly healing tissue. Have you had any experience in that, Ishmael?
I have, throughout my many years of weightlifting, I've actually hurt myself several times at the gym, where the doctor would say it would take months to heal, perhaps like a nerve that I pinched thinking it was a hernia or something, and something that would take months. I actually healed it in about a matter of weeks, 2 weeks, maybe 3 at the most, by daily concentrating on that part of my body and by sending it love and appreciation and positive energy. And if you take 20 minutes a day, if you have something going on with you, whether it's, physical pain, whether it's anything, all you have to do is communicate with that part of your body, because your body is alive. Every cell is alive. And when you communicate with it, they see it as the voice of God, because to your trillions of cells, you are God. You are the central control, the mind is like the central control system of the trillions of the little yous that exist right within your body. So learn how to communicate with your cells. In fact, I would recommend establishing rapport already with your cells through your daily devotion. Learn how to communicate and establish some sort of relationship with your body and your every part of yourself, and learn how to appreciate yourselves, send them love, gratitude. And the more you do that, your cells will respond and you will heal. It's kind of like similar to the idea of like, when people found out that plants had souls, right? They did an experiment, I think it was in Ireland, where for a week they planted some seeds, and as the plants were growing, they were nourished with love, appreciation. They were, told they were beautiful and strong, and the plants grew to be very healthy and green. And then they did another experiment where they planted the seed. As the plants were growing, they were giving them hatred. They were telling them they're dumb. You guys are stupid. You guys are unappreciated. We don't like you guys, whatever. They were told negative things, and then those plants were kind of like, they just kind of wither away and they didn't even grow. And so it's the same concept. If you take that concept and you apply it with your cells will respond. You'll actually learn how to heal yourself, with your own mind, because everything's connected via consciousness.
100%. 100%. And it's even amazing the sound. Like you guys know, I'm a sound person and I work a lot with music. And I actually I've got a beautiful big fern in my lounge room. And I hooked up the electrodes and listened to the sound and the notes the plant makes. I can't remember what the device is called. My friend has it, so we checked it out. And at one point we were talking about we just forgot that the plant was hooked up, and it's just buzzing along, humming along, because we're having all these next level conversations, right? And then all of a sudden we talked about something that wasn't exactly a great thing in our lives. We're talking about some messed up relationship, right? And all of a sudden this plant went quiet. It just stopped making a sound. And it was in the moment that it went quiet, I went, oh, hold on a second. It's really resonating with the level of conversation that we're having. So now I make a point of going, hey guys, I love you. I'd say this, talk to my clients every day, and people think I'm crazy, but I'm like, you know what? You're doing such a good job. I love you so much, and you're helping me breathe, and you're looking good in my lounge room. So every day I'm doing it, and it just makes it, that just appreciation. So if we do, doing it for my body too, scar tissue as well. Exactly. And I guess that's also going to activate the stem cells. So it's going to activate, and you've got trillions of stem cells, and, biology's teaching us all that they're all supposed to die at 26, they're meant to decline, and the telomeres and all of that stuff. But imagine if you're having this conversation with your body that Ishmael's talking about with the different cells. you don't have to buy in. One of the things I think we've bought into is that we're aging. We've been sold that message, and we're dying, and we've bought it. And it's one of the biggest lies we've ever bought.
Exactly.
That we're aging. So it's, if you agree that it's a bunch of BS, tell your body something else, and like let's show them how long we're going to be living.
Well, Anikiko, we could reverse the aging process by not believing that we're aging. That's how powerful our consciousness is. We don't have to buy into that program. That program was inserted into the collective of humanity long ago. And that's the reason why our ancestors used to live, thousands of years, and then they started living for 900. And we could read this in the Bible, right? The patriarchs, the original Hebrews. And then they went down to 300. And now it's like our lifespan is like 100. Well, we could begin to reverse that by, choosing to believe that we are immortal.
Hallelujah. Who's doing that? Who's doing all these? Me. Yep, I agree. So, and it starts with you. And this is that whole organic thing. And this is this discernment. I think the theme of today's conversation is really that discernment. What you're letting in. Who are you channeling? Like, channel, your I am divine presence. And that's going to be the best thing for everyone anyway, right? So, what else have we got? We had someone who had, I want to probably do one quick.
I just can't hear you.
Have you heard of Loved One Society?
The Loved One Society? No, I've never heard of it.
No. Okay. Yeah, Loved One. I was just curious about that. That's okay. I won't dive into it right now. I was just curious if you're aware of what they are doing. Okay, so one more question from the group, and that's about dreams, and also because it's happened to me. Somebody's had dreams. I think there's a few of these questions, so I'm just going to pull it all together because I've been reading them as we've been talking. I've had, myself included, and others have had dreams about fighting or being at war on some level. The questions are they actually fighting? My personal question about that is if I've seen some pretty dark stuff in probably a couple of weeks ago, really dark stuff, and it was not anything nice. And because we have all time now, right? Yet we're aware of our consciousness in different timelines or other dimensions. Do you think that stuff is also, was I actually involved in that, in sort of saving people, etc., and helping people? That was part of my dream. Or is it a memory, or is it something that's happening now? Or how do you perceive that? And are we actually fighting these wars on some levels?
Because all time is happening all the time. It's both. Different aspects of ourselves are still in the astral and other dimensions fighting these archons, these dark entities. And we're also existing in different timelines, So whoever you were in Atlantis, there's still an aspect of you that exists in a different timeline. Whoever you were in Lemuria, whoever you were in Sirius, depending on where you come from, Lyra, Alpha Centauri, it's all still happening. So, yeah, it's part of we're actually tapping into our multidimensional self when we have dreams like that.
Well, for mine, it was a couple of nights in a row, and it was actually about what was happening underground in Australia, Sydney, under the main train stations. And what I saw was just so scary. I actually I was actually calling the BS on the people who were trying to steal people to do some terrible things. And I was there standing and going, you're not taking me, you're not taking kids, and you're putting these women back. I was actually it was full on. And then I had to make a choice. I actually said, okay, the next few nights I'm aware I might be doing this on a few levels. I'm still doing it. I'm not pulling my energy out. But for this, while I'm here, as my consciousness is here on this earth, and I'm available for this kind of work, for my children, for my family, I only want to know about what I'm creating moving forward. So I kind of set that up, and I didn't have those kind of bad dreams again. It was very interesting. We've got some YouTube here. Another person has said here on YouTube, because we're live on YouTube as well, Ishmael, we've got it all going on. Please ask about the Galactic Federation infiltration and the role of the Guardian Alliance, please. Because on that, some people are saying, if you're talking to the Alliance, it's not really the Alliance. And so there's, again, people are getting confused, a little bit of discernment and clarity, please.
Yeah, well, I hate to say this, but the Galactic Federation has been infiltrated by AI. And so there's a distinction now between them and the Guardian Alliance. The Guardian Alliance are the higher evolved beings that cannot be infiltrated because they exist in a non-physical, beyond 5th, 6th density. They exist from the 7 and up. So it's up to us now, A lot of the galactics have been compromised by artificial intelligence, unfortunately. So it's going to lead to this final war against AI, and the starseeds are the ones that are going to pretty much be the saviors, and the ones that are. So we have to be careful, that who to listen to, who to channel, because at this point it's like you just have to go directly to your higher self. Like, this is the time for us to connect directly to God. We don't need any more mediators. Yeah, the ascended masters, the archangels, the angels, they were there, but we need to take off the training wheels. We need to take off the crutches, and we need to understand that we are God in embodiment, and we're all fractals of the one. And once we understand our power and our connection to source, to God, I don't even want to use the word source, let's just call it God. Then, we're going to be more powerful than any galactic, any AI, and we are going to clean house. And that's the meaning of a new heaven and a new earth. It all starts with us and what we do here now in the moment, at the hub of all timelines. So, so we can't depend on the galactics anymore. And the Galactic Alliance or the Guardian Alliance made it clear that there will be no intervention, that the starseeds have to do the work. And the solar flush is imminent. The solar flush is going to take place. But we have to do the work because it's a two-way process. The sun is not going to release that final trigger to activate our dormant DNA until enough of us have already cleared the polarity, duality, the trauma, the dense energies. Because otherwise we would have an internal combustion. We have to be fully cleared with all our subtle bodies, our astral body, our etheric body, our energetic bodies. Everything has to be cleared in order for us to be pure receptacles of the grand solar flash. And when it happens, we are going to clean house everywhere from this earth.
Yeah, we all get a royal kick up the royal backside. Like, we kind of need it in some ways. Like, I'm all for it, because, we just can't defer our authority anymore to anyone else. We can't delegate it to anyone else. We've got to take that charge. And this is what, Ishmael is doing here. This is what I'm doing in my work every day. This is what I'm going, kids, you're going to have to rely on yourself. A little 10 and a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, I'm like, you need to discern what's right and wrong, because you're going to get kicked around, and we're not allowing that in our field. So I think this is really important, and this is what people are talking about here on YouTube as well, and I think this is really powerful. So we're getting a lot of love on YouTube. Great show. Thank you both. Sending a lot of love. We're receiving it. We're about to dive into a short meditation before Ismael gets on with his day. So, like I do always, and I appreciate your love as well, people, about when we use the sound. So I'm just going to test one. You might not hear it on Instagram. I'll just test the sound that we're using, the frequency. 1, 2, when I say test, I'm using kinesiology. Okay, we're doing sounds of celebration in the background. So for those of you who aren't going to hear this on Insta, I'm just going to tell you the frequency and what it does. Sounds of celebration is all about releasing damaged cells. It's all about stepping into divine moments of who you are. Sounds of celebration, so you're getting into playful energy and celebration. So if you've been really heavy, or if you've been really serious in your stuff that's been lifted, just lighten that energy. So I'm going to play that in the background, and Ishmael, are you ready to go into meditation?
do with the evil phantom matrix, we reverse it at this time. And now we extend this powerful EMP that is being generated by us to the entire universe. By order of our collective mighty I Am Presence, we blast you and we transmute all negativity, anything that is associated with the AI time loop. We destroy you in the name of our mighty collective I Am Presence. We destroy you, we transmute you, and bring you back to source. And at the same time, for those that were biological entities that aligned and were compromised by AI, we release you from their control, and we, at this time, we say we will save your souls so that you won't be destroyed. But for those that are not biological entities, for those that are artificial entities with no connection to God, because they have no soul, we do destroy you. In the name of our mighty I Am Presence, as children of the One, we destroy all negative entities that are still lurking within our universe from this earth. And may the true organic timeline become real. May we restore heaven and earth as it was in ancient times, as we welcome the seventh golden age of enlightenment. And all those souls that have aligned with artificial intelligence, again, we intervene and we release you from that mind trap. For no soul will be left behind. Every soul is a fragment of the One, and therefore we will release you from your compromised back into holy union with the Father, Mother, Christ, Sophia, of this holy solar flame of divinity. And it is so. And at this time, I ask that we bring ourselves back into our bodies. So be it. So what we just did is we just kind of blew up the matrix from within. Like an EMP, we just send it out to everywhere, to the entire universe.
Oh, that was beautiful. Oh, wow. Gosh, I really feel like that shifted my voice, like something's changing in my voice. Wow. Oh. I always feel a love bubble when we do these, don't we? All those hearts come through.
I just wanted to thank everyone that helped and participated. You guys are all part of the 144,000. You know, you guys are the saviors, not only of the earth, but of the entire organic way of life. And, you know, once our dormant DNA kicks in, guys, we are going to be in charge. You know, let's just always remember our struggles so that we could always stay humble as we go on and protect other primitive worlds and other underdeveloped worlds, that we never, you know, pose as gods, that we come in as mentors and guides, rather, with unconditional love. Because as we take our new role, you know, we have to remember from our past mistakes. You know, let's not repeat what the Anunnaki did in ancient times. You know, this is different. You know, because we are going to be way more powerful than them and any other entity out there. And so I hope everyone stays humble and always use your abilities for protection, for guidance, for love. Be an example, but mainly, just be humble. That's the only way we are going to understand because regardless, it's where God resides. The heart is the physical representation of the mighty eye of your essential sun. It's interesting because if you stay in your heart, you're never going to deviate. You're always going to be pure.
There's nothing can infiltrate.
If you're in your heart, I guarantee you'll no longer be receiving attacks from AI or any negative entities. When you are in your heart, you're in your power, and they know that, so they can no longer penetrate you.
And these beautiful spaces that we get into collectively and then we go live. We've got 3:33 just about time. 3:33 just about it's that collective entity. Imagine this, that could be all times 10, so 100 each who can and collective in those spaces. So amazing. We look forward to hearing about Israel, and we all appreciate you and the work that you're doing and bringing us together. You've come at the right time. You're born for this. You're born for this. And
Yes, we come as a team. So, without the team, there isn't anything. We have to work as a team because one of the things that I've learned in life is that the universe expands. It's cooperative. Just like the trillions of cells in your body cooperate to make the bigger orgasm functionally exist with no ego, even though each cell or each seems to be doing it for you. But yet they all work in harmony. So let's take that example and apply it with our seeds here. Every single one sense of heat still exists, every single one sense of gift and contribution to the world. And it's when we put it together, we work as a team, that we move mountains and we become unstoppable.
incredible. So let's toast to that, bring our hearts together for that, and just sending a collective deep appreciation for each and one of you for being live with us, for sending me, for being so strong, dear leaders. It's amazing. Ishmael, and I look forward to the next chapter to this again. Over on our Instagram, we'll be posting the replay live.
Before we end it, I guess the second members who will be traveling the States and just let me know. And we'll be doing book signings if you guys want to come and get a book signed. We're going to go into the different states. I'll keep everybody notified.
Please, and it's the new edition, right? It's the new chapter.
Yes, the new edition.
Yeah. Have you already got one? Have you got the plans?
I know it's going to be printed in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Yay. And also, I just want to remind everyone there's a lot of fake accounts for Israel. And you might be one, you might not be. So we just want to always have all of Ishmael's correct handles, including his new YouTube, his Instagram, his books, and all of that. That's always under this video on the YouTube link. So you'll always have the correct place to go. So just please be mindful, and we appreciate that too. So, Ishmael, amazing, and have an amazing tour with what you're doing, touching people with your beautiful work, and we'll speak to you soon. Over and out for Instagram, and I just
Bye, guys.
cut off on
Love you
Zoom.
guys.
We love you. And